Everybody, hope you are doing well. I'm excited to share Torah with you regarding Tshuva, Yomei Elul. I want to relate that when I was a Shana Aleph student, I was extremely tired. We were just saying Slichos, and I remember one morning we had to go to morning Seder. And I remember thinking to myself, how in the world am I going to get through morning Seder this morning? I'm exhausted beyond belief. Slichos completely knocked me out. I had never been that drained. And the daunting morning Seder lay ahead of me. So I opened up an Nesiv Shalom to try to give me a little bit of Chizzuk, the son of a Rabbi. I very much appreciate the Torah of the Nesiv Shalom, and in the back of the volume on Sefer Devarim there are pieces on Elul. And I remember opening up the page Reish Mem Aleph, Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. So argues the Nesiv Shalom, the concept of Ani L'Dodi, B'derech Hasidus means that we need to be Moser Es Ani. You have to give up as much ani as you can, lidodi. And I remember being very inspired because all of my ani was exhausted, and I really experienced giving so much of myself to Hashem that morning because I had to just really put in my final, recesses of energy out there. So in Elul we try to dig out pieces of our neshama, hidden potential, and bring it to the surface. On a similar vein, I once heard Rav Handler Shlita explain the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah about all the things that actually occurred on Rosh Hashanah, on Aleph Tishrei. Namely, the Gemara in Maseches Rosh Hashanah on the bottom of Yod Amid Beis going on to the top of Yod Aleph Amid Aleph relates that what happened on Rosh Hashanah was that Yosef was free from prison, and the Imos who remembered who were barren, Sarah, Rachel, Bechana, and also Klal Yisrael who were serving as slaves in Egypt, but Rosh Hashanah Batla Avoda Me'avosenu B'Mitzrayim. So these things occurred on Rosh Hashanah, and Rav Handler explained that they're all examples of something being brought out. Yosef coming out of prison, Klal Yisrael breaking a little bit more free from the Egyptian bondage, and certainly the Imos who were incapable of having children were now capable of having something come out of them, a child into this world. And b'derech avoda, Rav Handler explained, so too on Rosh Hashanah, the ruchnius needs to be brought out. It's a very, very lofty goal to try to look into our own kochos and ask ourselves over the Yamim Noraim season, what part of me is laying dormant and needs to be brought out? Perhaps the years in yeshiva, Shana Aleph, Shana Bet, etc., were times in our lives where there were certain kochos that were brought out onto the surface. And later in life, it's far more challenging, almost impossible, to be in touch with those parts of our neshama. Yet they're still there. And maybe we could ask ourselves during these days of Elul, what part of my Shana Aleph self, of my Shana Bet self, the old Sha'alvim version of me, so to speak, can I tap into and bring out into the surface? Thought, b'derech drush, the whole wave of Chagim is really an attempt to just bring Kedusha out of us, because the halacha on Tisha B'Av is that we're not allowed to say hello to somebody. We need to remain silent on Tisha B'Av to some degree. And all of a sudden on Rosh Hashanah, the Rav explained that we don't do tshuva verbally, but we have hirhur tshuva. We have thoughts of tshuva. The goal of the shofar, as we know in the Rambam, is to wake us up. The Rav in the Sefer, before Hashem you shall be purified, and many other writings of the Rav's Torah as well. But on page 9 on the bottom, he writes, explaining the shofar, that we are jolted with a sudden awareness of the grievous extent to which our actions have alienated us from God. So on Rosh Hashanah, again, we don't do tshuva verbally, but the shofar kind of wakes us up. And then during the days of the Aseret Shuvah, we clap al chet, and on Kippur we verbalize something. We're expressing more and more. It's coming out all of a sudden verbally. And on Sukkot we even dance. On Simchas Torah we dance with our friends, and we are completely expressive. And perhaps the goal of the Yamim Noraim Nisragim is to really feel that there are parts inside of us that we should tap into and bring to the surface. We should all be zocheh to find those parts of us that Hashem wants us to wear on our sleeves a little bit more often, and Be'ezras Hashem, we should bring those kochos and nefesh to the surface and bring more and more kedusha to the world these days of Elul and Yom Noraim. Have a Chag Kosher v'Samech and a Gemar Chasim Tova. All the best.
בכהנים והעם העומדים בעזרה, כשהיו שומעים את שם השם המפורש יוצא מפי, כהן גדול היו קוראים, משתחווים ונופלים על פניהם. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.